Okay, t2x. This is the commentary for Mission 9, and hope this is, if not entertaining, at least instructive. So far, we're having a good time, just revisiting all this. Essentially, we decided real early on that the story needed to take place in a pretty traditional way, which is the whole 3-act thing, and we really kind of wanted to break it up into the first act being mission 1 to 4, of course the first act then ending with her arriving in Sunnyport, and we had a lot to do in that as far as introducing characters, getting her familiar with the city, reminding the player of how to use the tools and the weapons, and introducing the ice arrows and all that kind of stuff. Then of course Act 2 begins in Sunnyport, and the whole of the second act really stays in Sunnyport, and we're dealing with this setup, her discovering the smugglers and figuring out how to do them in, and of course everything that we've just gone through with the orb and planting the orb and all that. And Act 3, of course, is when she returns to the city, which is then to deal with finding Kadar, realizing he's alive, finding him, and all that goes on there. And we really, just like in a movie or a novel or whatever, each act really needed to have some type of closure or climactic scene, if you will. And so this mission really is you could say the climax of Act 2. This is where there's some resolution to some of the things that have been going on, but of course then posing some new challenges and new questions that have to be answered in the third act. So that was really plot-wise what we were trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, so all the effort that the player's been putting in for the past few maps trying to set up the smugglers, it should all hopefully pay off right here. And again, this is another one of those scenarios that we could have easily done in a cutscene, but we chose not to because we feel it's much more viscerally satisfying to witness it all in a map, to see the consequences of your actions.
Which of course takes ungodly amount of scripting, right?
yeah. There's this is our craziest scripted map, probably one of the most highly scripted maps that's been done in Thief, I think, to date. But anyway, what you see here, this is the second half of our casing masks pair. We talked a little bit in Mission 5 in the redistribution game about doing the first half of this pairing where we're going to be reusing the geometry. And here, this is basically the same geometry that you see in that map, but now there are all these changes that we've done, and the gameplay is entirely different. Unlike that mission, this map starts a little bit earlier, so you get to see the actual connection down from the street level to the caves, which I think was important. We may have should have done this in the redistribution game as well, so you get a better sense of location. But here you get to travel from the top all the way down and see the mayhem and the chaos as it unfolds here.
So yeah, this is familiar territory here, and we've got, of course, the huge avalanche there that just. That was a nice little scripted event.
Yeah, and no matter where you look, there's going to be combat going on. That the Hammerites are going to be attacking the smugglers. We do this thing that we refer to really as semi-scripting, which is to say we don't determine the outcome of any given battle. We really just throw the Hammerites and the smugglers together, and we make them hostile to one another, and they duke it out using their natural AI systems. And it's very difficult in Thief to script anything so specific as the outcome of combat, so we felt it was enough to really to let things play out and to force the player to kind of sneak around these AIs as they're fighting. And so there's a lot of scripting in this map. Most of the time we're just having AIs run at each other. We also spawn arrows that fly across the screen, and we kill guys and we crush guys. We do pretty much anything to convey a sense of chaos and mayhem in here that we can do in the Dark Engine.
You know what I like too about this map? To me, it's one of the more picturesque, I guess, locations in the game. When you come around the end of the little river here into the face of the keep, it's just I call that a money shot, and it's
we had the same term on T3.
Yeah, and it's at night it's great with the lights and all that, but it's still really pretty during the day. It's really nice to to see both, and it's just, to me, a sign of good artistic design on your part, I guess.
Yeah, daytime lighting is such a mixed bag, though. It's really nice, I think, to start this map out during the day and get to see Sunnyport all lit up.
Right.
You know, we felt this was the mission where we always wanted to have a daytime mission in Thief. We wanted the full gamut of day and night cycles, but we felt this was the most appropriate mission because this is where Zaya really doesn't pick the time that events transpire. She can determine on her own fictionally, like when she goes out and steals, but now the Hammerites are determining when they're going to crush the smugglers, and they're going to do it first thing in the morning when they get up.
Love the cannon blast here. It blows the guy apart.
Yeah. The thing about doing maps during the day, aesthetic-wise, is that you have to crank the ambient way up because otherwise you get these really black shadows on the exteriors. It doesn't really look natural. In order to simulate radiosity of the lights, we have to make the ambient really high. But what that means basically is once you go to an interior space, the ambient is also high in there. We can't control it by zone. So essentially you get interiors that are very washed out looking, and it's very difficult to create any meaningful shadow or to make them really look good. But that was just a compromise that we had to make. It's just something that we were willing to do because we really wanted this daytime setting, and we wanted the outdoors to look good when it was all lit up in daytime.
All right. And it really, this was the way this was designed. It was just a situation where you're pretty much forced either into combat or either being very patient, until these guys ramp back down, or sometimes there are ways to sneak around them, but it was really tough not to get caught. But that's realistic, and we wanted it to be, tough and for the violence and all to really come through vividly. That there's a lot of bloodletting going on here. Yeah,
we really wanted to immerse you in the experience, and this is kind of a riff on traditional sneaking gameplay. We wanted the AIs. We wanted it to be difficult to sneak around, but we wanted the AIs to behave in a realistic fashion. So when an AI is done with combat, they're going to be looking around. They're still going to be alert, and you got to sneak around them when they're still alert. And if you wait, under some circumstances, they'll actually go on patrol. I set them up with patrol pass, so if they calm down, they should go on patrol. But the problem is they almost never really calm down because there's so much other stuff going on in the map. And essentially, that's almost kind of a shame, because sometimes it's almost a little too difficult. Thief and Thief 2 have this kind of slippery slope problem where once you alert an AI, once you get him all the way up to his maximum alert levels, he may ramp back down to a lower alertness level, but his sensitivity remains high, and that's something that's controlled internally. So once you slip up a little bit, and once you fail on some level, then the game becomes more challenging because it's more easy to fail again because that AI is going to be really sensitive. And that's even true even when the player is not the perpetrator. Even if the AIs are ramping each other up and fighting each other, their senses are essentially cranked. And that makes it very difficult to sneak through. But still kind of interesting because a lot of times in these battles you only have one guy who survives, and then so you got one guy who's walking in a search pattern that's a little bit unpredictable, but there's only one guy and he's wounded. So if you do have to fight against him, then you're going to stand a little bit better of a chance than you would if he was just fresh. Yeah,
most of these guys are walking wounded by the time the bat they've taken some hits.
Yeah,
and the other thing about the gameplay on this is that we had a little bit of this, I guess, at the end of. Or not at the end, but during the Soulforge mission in Thief 2, where you, as the player, kind of, you're trying to sneak around, but you really feel like you're very exposed. Kara seemed to always know where Garrett was, or, was talking to him. There was that constant presence there that you're not used to. And it's a little bit, it puts you on edge a little bit. And the same thing here, that, these guys are constantly alert. And so you're a little more on edge, I think, than you would be in a normal sneaking mission.
Yeah, it's a very tense, very quick map, and that was always the intent. And we didn't want to keep the player around too long because this geometry is all familiar. We wanted it to be very short and very fast-paced, very intense.
But with a lot of destroyed stuff.
Yeah, with a lot of destruction.
And, we also had, I think, you mentioned there that this is a little bit similar to the end of the Assassin's mission, where you set the alarm off and you're pretty screwed trying to get back to...
Yeah, if you haven't played Thief 1, there's a mission, it's the fourth mission in the game, where you go through the city streets and you follow these guys, and then you end up in a mansion, and if you set off the alarm in the mansion, then you have to sneak back through the streets while the city watch guards are basically walking in search patterns, like
in the highest alert mode.
Yeah, that's actually it's funny. It's actually kind of an illusion. If you look at the way they scripted it, they change their animations and they ramp them up a little bit, but they're not quite as sensitive as guys who have actually been alerted through combat in the game. So it gives the illusion of them being a little bit more alert than they actually are, and it actually works out really well. It's a very, very tense moment at the end of the map, and we thought that was good inspiration for this, but we couldn't pull it off in exactly the same way because we were alerting AIs differently in this map.
You had a spider still chasing you there.
Yeah, I think that's one of my own.
But you know, it's a nice little flooding effect that's going on here. I mean, the hammers are really, you know, we really wanted to, you know, something that we talked about in plot is that it would be nice, you know, obviously to see the environment kind of destroyed too, because the problem before was that the hammers had found the smugglers at the old smuggler hideout and had thought eradicated them years ago, and then set that thing up as a, you know, as a tourist attraction, come see the old smuggler caves. And now here they are again, they've set up shop again, and so to some degree you didn't want just the smugglers destroyed, but you also wanted their hideout you know, ruined and exposed and all of that. And so that's it's nice that kind of came through in the flooding and some of the doorways falling in and things like that.
Yeah, so we wanted to set up as many different kinds of combat scenarios as possible. We had like ranged guys and melee guys, and then the magic guys all fighting one another. We have events where guys will run out into a hall and then get shot by an arrow and die. We have events where guys will hit each other at exactly the same time and they'll both die. And, you know, it's just as many different scenarios as we could possibly think of, I think we put in here. Yeah. And then here's like some familiar territory, but things are smashed up, and this is actually some really hard loot to find in here. This little cave here. This is kind of interesting too. There's a secret area over here that you may not have found in Mission 5 in the redistribution game, but now it's exposed and easy to find, and it's not a secret anymore. Yeah. So if you play the game a second time, you can go back and find it easier.
Right. If you stack crates to try to get out of the mission, chances are you found that spot because there were a lot of crates stacked in front of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and here's this is Neeson's or
Grissom's quarters.
Grissom's quarters, you know, that have been destroyed, and of course we're kind of looking for him, wanting to do him in, but I guess he was killed out. You find his body out on the
we wanted to docks. We thought it was important for you to find both leaders of the smuggler faction dead. And we weren't really sure at first if we wanted to force the player to kill them both, or if we wanted to have them already dead. And what we ended up deciding was we wanted to have one of them already dead. Grissom is already dead in the water. You just have to walk near him to discover him. And then Neeson is locked in combat with a hammer, and you can actually kill him directly, or sometimes the hammer will kill him, or there's a third way you can actually shoot him with a cannon, and it doesn't track that damage if you're trying to ghost the map.
Right. So. Yeah. That was again the concern is, you know, how much do we try to accommodate the ghosting issue here, and you know, is it going to be a satisfying thing for the player as Zaya to, you know, actually turn around and kill these guys by her own hand, or will it be enough for them to die at the hands of the hammers? Mm-hmm. Does she need to deal a death blow? And I think ultimately we decided it didn't really matter. You know, that she was, to the extent that we wanted to make it an objective that she be the one that actually deal the death blow, but just that she witnessed that both of them were dead by whatever means. And of course, you know, like you say, you there's a variety of ways to deal with that when it gets there. And here's the setup for the third scene where she finds this note that. This is the note, right? Which you didn't read it there, but if you read it, she realizes,
actually, that Fraps won't show it, so you'll get just a little hitch, and then it'll keep going.
That's where she actually discovers, Kadar might actually still be alive. There's an possibility that I could rescue him, which of course sets us up for the third scene.
Right, for the third act when she comes back to the city, and that gives us a reason for her to come back to the city.
Right. Here's a new area.
Yeah, one of the other things we wanted to do different from Casing and Mask was give the player just a couple of little new areas to explore, so everything wasn't all the same. And most people probably don't notice, but there's one door in Mission 5 that you can't get in. It's a door that's locked with double portcullis, and in this mission, if you're clever, as an optional objective, you can come out here through a little window entrance and kind of clear out some smuggler goodies that have been compiled here in the treasure room.
Which again is part of the vengeance, you know.
Cleaning.
You feel like in a way she's repaid for all her efforts and the loss of her ship and all of this by taking back from them.
Yeah, and one of the other things that you learn in playing this mission is that Zaya's ship is still being kept here by the smugglers. And some people have asked, like, why would they keep her ship after all this time? And it's like, well, because they do all their business by carting goods back and forth, by stealing goods, and they have no reason to sell a ship from a girl they thought they killed.
Right, it's a pretty nice ship. We tried to convey at the beginning that her family is fairly wealthy, and not so much that she's pampered, but just that that it's more of an aristocratic background that she's coming from. In a foreign sense, I guess, that even though they're merchants, you kind of see the family. She's got some jewelry that looks expensive, and the ship is really nice and all that. So, it's a nice ship, too. It's not like she came across in a junker that they would just auction off somewhere or dispose of. It's an asset for them to keep the ship. So
here we are. There's one more new area. That is the docks itself. That's where you get to see the ship. And here we're going to come over and go down into this entrance here. This is another place that you couldn't get.
Trying to mantle it. That thing.
Yeah, that's really my fault. I should have made that ledge a little
you
thicker.
Need to fix that.
Yeah. Hey, 25th anniversary edition.
Right. It's just great. You can get up so high and look down on all this stuff. It just, that to me really, again, a hallmark of the original games, being able to get that height on the map. And the thing with the ships, it was again, that was something I think for a while we discussed that in the cut she could find her ship in the cut scene, but it may have even been you that came back and said, it'd be really cool if we could actually get on the ship and look around a little bit and explore that dock area. Give us something also a little different for this mission that we couldn't get to previously. But
yeah, exactly. So. It's one little tower here.
And I think I actually took a stab, which again, I'm terrible at drama ed, and I by default ended up doing a little bit of design and stuff. But that was, I think, one of the first things I tried my hand at was building that little dock section. I never even showed it to you, I think, because it was so bad. I was like, well,
it was actually very hard to build like a cave dock section because, again, we're dealing with a BSP based editor where we were dealing with brushes and modern caves and games are of course built in 3D package like 3D Studio Max or Maya, and they're brought in and you can make them as organic as you want. But here we're dealing with brushwork, so it's
a huge open space
and a huge open
with
space,
all these objects and stuff.
But this actually worked out. We were able to pull this off without running over our poly count budget or doing anything. The poly count budget for Drum Ed, by the way, as a little bit of trivia, is around 1,050 BSP polygons, and then an unspecified number of non-BSP based actor polygons.
Just until it crashes.
Yeah, just until it crashes. Yeah, it's a hard limit.
You just have to kind of just experiment.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's both a blessing and a curse to have those kind of hard limits encoded into where modders can't change them because it forces you to build below a certain detail level. But it also means if you are an experienced mapper and you do want to expand the poly count in your scenes, you can't. You have to squeeze it all into those 10,000 or not 10,000 those 1,000 polygons, 1,050.
Yeah, see, I have no idea what you just said, but
yeah.
But I know it kept crashing, and we could originally, even when the gate was there, I think in some of the earlier builds of this, you could swim out, you could get out of the world by there's a little space in the gate there between the gate and the rock that you could actually swim out and see the outside world.
Yeah, so here are the little cannons.
Love the cannons. I thought that
cannons
was a nice
are
little touch.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. They're just little gimmicky
Not a big
object.
deal, but
yeah. And here we have another instance of a place where you can use an ice arrow. Just wanted to have one more in here. You can actually use a rope arrow to get over there too, but I thought it was better to use an ice arrow. So, and just a little extra loot. And hopefully the player will recognize their ship from Mission 1.
Even though you weren't on it.
Even though you weren't on it, you could see it. Yeah, you could see it. It's the first thing that you see in the game. And if not, then at the very least you'll kind of get it from, I think, the way that the space is laid out, because it's the ship that's that's presented to you right at the end of the dock and in the most obvious way.
Well, I hope people got to in Mission 1 when the guy closes the gate and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of your ship." That was actually a smuggler.
That was actually you. Yeah.
That was me, but it was actually a smuggler.
Yeah.
Who they were already setting her and Kadar up from the beginning. I mean,
to take all their stuff.
So